Hello, I'm Jessica, your Up North agent. I'm a licensed realtor in Minnesota and Wisconsin. I'm a real estate investor and an Up North enthusiast. When you think about purchasing a short-term rental, regardless if it's your first property or your 10th property, you're going to be putting together a profit and loss statement so you know if this is going to be a viable purchase to add to your wealth portfolio. So when you're looking at a potential acquisition of a short-term rental, you look at what the cost is going to be and then factoring in principal and interest. Then you look at the potential rent that you could get in the short-term rental world, and you do some quick math and you figure if this is going to be a good property to purchase. What we're going to talk about today is some of those things that you don't factor in, some of those additional expenses that are going to come with each of your properties. I have 5 key things that we're going to talk about today that you're going to want to factor in to the expense side of the overall profitability of this next purchase. The first one is going to be the initial setup. That's going to be the licensing and the initial inspections. I have an entire video on this and I'll link that in the show notes so you can go ahead and watch that video after this one. But let's talk about it on a high level. To be able to get your property fully licensed and to be able to put it onto the rental platforms, call it Vrbo or bookings.com or Airbnb, someone's got to come out from the state and from the county and make sure that this property is set up for guests. There's going to be fees associated with that. Each county and state is going to require a different level of inspection, and of course the different fees are going to be associated accordingly. So at minimum, you're going to need a water test. If you do that yourself, it could be $30, it could be $100. And then the county and the state is going to ask for a check, and that is most likely going to be $300 plus. So just that setup fee alone, calculate $800 to be safe, that in the inspections and the licensing fees, just so you know what you're getting into. There's going to be an initial setup, and then after that, there's going to be annual fees that you're just going to want to, again, add to the overall calculation. Pretty simple, right? The second one, a little bit more complicated. I call this one the furniture, fit, and finishes bucket. If you are buying a short-term rental that is already being rented, there's a pretty good chance that they're going to be giving you that property turnkey and fully furnished. That's ideal. You know that it can be licensed, you know it's going to pass the county and state smell test, and you most likely are going to have everything that you need to be able to get that thing up and running. There's still going to be a period of time in between, of course, because you're going to have to get a new license because you're a new owner, so you can't just switch it over. I wish that we could, but otherwise there's not going to be a lot of expenses in this bucket. However, if the property is not turnkey or not fully furnished, then this bucket is going to be the most expensive up front. When you purchase your own home, you most likely didn't go out and furnish it and fill all the drawers and the closets with all the basic necessities overnight. But that's essentially what you're going to be doing in a vacation property. Your immediate guests and your early guests are going to expect the same amount of amenities as somebody who's going to come and stay at your property a year later. Everyone is going to have that expectation that everything is going to be there. So something to just consider is that you are going to be buying couches and end tables and lamps and curtains, rugs, all of those things, you know, hooks and things that are going on the walls, all of your decorations for every room of your property all at once. I highly recommend going to your local favorite furniture store, finding some high-end, even commercial furniture, and pricing those things out, just again to add to the overall budget so you know exactly what you're getting into. And as you do that, you're going to want to think about what you have in your own home and what those needs are that your guests may have as they come in, thinking about that furniture and thinking about dining and kitchen, the laundry room, so on and so forth. Same with decorations. You want your guests to feel at home and to feel comfortable in your property. And that's going to include that things are going to be, on the walls, and you're going to have different paintings and pictures and things that represent your town. Those all come with an expense, just something to factor. And then also you've got your bedding, and then all the stuff that goes in the drawers of the bathrooms and the kitchen to, again, have your guests feel as if they are right at home. The bedding you have in your own home might be pretty simple. It might be some, sheets that you found on sale. It could be a comforter and some pillows. When you're outfitting a bed for a vacation rental, it's a little bit more extensive. You are going to make sure that you have zippered mattress protectors, pillow protectors. You are most likely going to have a high-end mattress topper, and then you're going to have sheets that you're going to be spending more on because they are going to be laundered every 2 to 3 days, and they need to be able to take that level of abuse so you're not constantly replacing your linens. And oh, by the way, you have to have 2 of everything. You probably won't have the time when you're flipping your property in the same day to be able to launder everything that you need to and have it ready for your next guests. So you'll have to have 2 duvets and 2 sets of pillowcases, 2 sets of fitted sheets for all the different sizes of beds that you have in your property. The third bucket is something I call security, locks, and controls. And this will be a little bit more expensive on the front end, and then we'll have some sort of a monthly charge associated. That means your security system, so you're protecting yourself as a host in case something may come up and you're going to need record of what's going on at your properties. Also a security system to protect your guests potentially. So we're talking cameras, Wi-Fi, things of that nature, or even noise alerts and controls. If you have neighbors within close proximity, you may want to have some sort of a sensor that will alert you if there's potentially a party happening at your property. Also access. Initially, when you start in the short-term rental business, you will think that a lockbox that is $15, $20 on Amazon will do, and then you will find in short order that keys are the worst when it comes to vacation rentals, and you'll want to replace with some sort of a key code, even something that works off of Wi-Fi, and the code can be changed in an app so that you can keep your property secure and you don't have to worry about lost keys. And then also is going to be just the overall controls of the property, meaning like your heat and air conditioning Wi-Fi or sensors, again, that are going to tell you that your property is safe. It is so nice to be able to turn down the heat or turn down the air when your guests have left, if it's going to be a couple of days before you're going to be able to get to the property, or it's going to be cleaned and turned, so on and so forth. It saves you in the long run, but again, it's going to have that initial cost up front. The fourth bucket is pest control and those quarterly or annual R&M, repair and maintenance costs. So pest control is something you're probably not factoring into the overall cost of your property, but you will quickly find is almost mandatory. In your own home, you probably control the spiders and the bugs and the flies and the mosquitoes and the mice and all of the creepy crawlies on your own. And that's totally awesome and fine. But when it comes to hosting and you've got guests that are paying you to be at your property, they probably don't want to be paying for any additional unwanted guests. And you're going to want a professional coming in most likely 3 or 4 times a year to keep your property really extracted of all of those things. At minimum, it's going to be about $100 every time a professional comes out, but most likely, depending on the area where your short-term rental is, it could be upwards of $200 per time that they come and visit your property, something to factor. And then you're going to have all of those annual type maintenance things that are going to need to happen, blowing out sprinklers or preparing for the winter or the colder months, cleaning out gutters, fireplaces. If you have a wood burning fireplace in your property, that's going to have to be inspected and cleaned annually, all things that you need to factor in that overall budget. The fifth and final expense that you may not be thinking about is going to be lawn and snow removal. So lawn care, snow removal. Again, when you are just starting out, it's your first property, you are thinking to yourself, I'm going to do all of this on my own. No big deal. We'll clean it ourselves and save that money. We'll mow the lawn. We'll remove the snow. And you will. And I did. And I completely agree with that because it's going to help for this thing to be a lot more profitable, a lot quicker. Once you acquire more properties, and you will because you'll fall in love with this business and you'll see it's a lucrative business, you're going to need some help because when you have a snowstorm in, say, Minnesota or Wisconsin, it's really difficult to get to all of your properties in such a short amount of time because they come in hot, they come in unexpected, and you're going to need some professional help. Same with lawn care. It would be a full-time job in the summer to be, cutting grass and maintaining all of gardens and landscaping at things of all of your properties, especially if there's any, proximity in between the different properties in which you own. So initially, even if you're doing that work, factor it in, and then you're just going to have that much more wiggle room and you're going to be making that much more money. But at least then, as you've got that profit and loss statement put together in a spreadsheet, you've got it factored in as a potential expense. So down the line, you don't end up, being unexpectedly hit with some of these additional expenses that you hadn't factored in, and then not being able to profit like you had planned on your property. That is what I have for you today. If you need help finding a short-term rental, if you have any more questions specific to short-term rentals or buying and selling any residential or commercial property, I'm your gal. You can find my information in the show notes. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video.